I just wanted to see how much I can manipulate the law. There is no way this could have happened to him like police are saying it did. He was fit and he was healthy. A monster. A manipulator. A liar. A devil. I just wanted to see how much I could manipulate the law. Welcome to Extraordinary Stories Podcast. Hey, how are you? Are you well? Are you good? I am. Okay, well, this story is a very recent one. I don't normally go for the very, very recent ones, but I'll tell you why I've gone for this one. First of all, it's insane. It's insanely interesting because the person at the very centre of it is a deeply troubled but interesting figure. But also, I had a little bit of help with this episode, and the reason I had a little bit of help is because it's a Swedish story, this one, and most of the sort of information you can find, it's all in Swedish. So So a listener called Asa, I think it's Asa, please tell me I'm saying that correctly. It's A-S-A. I don't think it's Asa. I think that's Asa. That's just my guess. Well, she sent me the story and I went, fuck, wow, that is insane, this story. And then Asa was brilliant at just sending me more and more sort of different bits and pieces and helping with like some of the translations. So some of the some of the difficulty I've had here is because what I've had to do in terms of research is I've had to go on to lots of Swedish news sites and take from those websites. I've had to take a bit of information. I've had to put it through Google Translate, and then sometimes when it comes back, you go, "What? That doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about?" And then I found like different articles about it and different things where it's gone from Swedish to German and then been translated into English. So like the grammar, the sentence structure, it's all over the shop at points. So at the end of the episode, I'm not going to do it throughout, but at the end of the episode, I'm going to give you some of the best crazy translations that I found where you're like, that just doesn't make any sense. That's not even a sentence. I don't even know what that is. However, through Asa's help and through just being able to kind of find stuff, I was able to find my way through this story. So it's a very recent one. It's the case of a woman called Johanna Moller. And although she right now is a name that you won't know, I wouldn't imagine, you will soon, because I'm imagining that in time every true crime podcast will be doing this story because it's just absolutely nuts. So, here's the question. Are you ready? Okay. Let's go. Alright, so Johanna Muller, born 1975 in Sweden. So born, raised in Sweden by parents Goran and Eskilstuna. That's not right, but that'll do. Johanna grows up and, you know, her family, they're a fairly, I wouldn't say wealthy family, but they're your average middle class family. You know, her mum and dad work hard, they live in a nice property. Johanna has a sister, so she's not the easiest of children. Her parents and her will often battle over things because from a very, very young age, she just was a bit tricky. She was just a bit difficult about things, kind of about most things. And it's something we're going to learn about her in this story, is that essentially nothing in her life was particularly easy, or she never made anything easy or allowed anything to be particularly easy. So, at age 18, Johanna leaves home. She's having a really hard time in life. Some reports will say that the leaving home was because she had a psychotic break at 18 years old. Her family just sort of understood it as she's having a bit of a tough time. Things aren't great for her at the moment. And the thing that was sort of impacting her the most at that moment was that she discovered that she was pregnant. And the way that she chose to deal with that was to just walk out of her life. Now, it's not really what her mum and dad wanted her to do. They didn't really want her to just disappear when she was pregnant. But as I said, their relationship wasn't always great, so she just closed communication with her mum and dad, and off she went. She has very, very difficult relationships with everybody. So she's pregnant, she's 18, and this is her first pregnancy. In her life, Johanna will end up with 6 different kids to 3 different fathers. Some of those she gave birth to, some of them when she's married different men and they've had kids of their own. But yeah, there's 6 children in her life. No judgment in that, not judging that in the slightest. But at around the age of 18, when she falls pregnant, what she does is she seems to start meeting men very quickly and divorcing them. She seems to be obsessed with just meeting people, being married for about 3 weeks and then divorcing them. She loves it. I'm not saying she loves it, but it's becoming a pattern for her. She keeps meeting people, marrying them very, very fast, and then divorce. So one of the men that she meets and she marries, this is one of the marriages that lasts a good few years. It's with a man called Aki. So they meet, they marry, and they have twins. So about maybe 6 months after they've had their twins, they decide to go on holiday. So Johanna and Aki, they travel out of Sweden. They go on holiday. And right in the middle of the holiday, Aki takes very, very unwell. Like really seriously unwell. He ends up hospitalised. He's got severe stomach cramps. He's got fever symptoms. He's dehydrated. He has to go on an IV drip. And doctors are looking at him and they're baffled. They cannot understand what's gone wrong. He's on holiday. He's been out, he's had a meal in a restaurant. And now all of a sudden, here he is in hospital. Now, true crimists out there, true crime lovers, I'm willing to bet that in your cars, your beds, your workplaces, wherever you're listening, you're maybe thinking, mysterious hospitalisation. Doctors can't quite put their finger on what it is. You've probably got a suspicion as to what you think it might be. And you would be right. Doctors, after a few days of working on Johanna's husband, discover that he's ingested some sort of poison. And of course, the question is, from where? Where in the hell has he ingested poison from? How's this happened? So while that question is still looming in the air and there's no real answer for it, he starts to make a recovery. Now I will say this about Aki. He was very fit and very healthy. He was in his early 30s. And when I say fit, I actually mean like fit. Woof! Just like Swedish hotness. You're like, yes. Really, really hot. But anyway, that aside, hotness aside, he was a really fit, really healthy guy. He used to run all the time. He would always be swimming, biking, jogging, doing all these different things. So, yeah, his body just recovers fast, which is good. However, in the case of any kind of suspected poisoning, police have to do an investigation. It just has to happen. Because basically they need to work out if, was he given something in the restaurant that he was in that his body has interacted with? Where did it come from? How has this happened? But here's the thing, they can't actually locate the substance or the chemical that's in his body, so there's no... Yeah, they have a really hard time tracking down what it is that's caused this. They know it's poison, but they don't quite know how it's got into his system or exactly what it is. Now, police are kind of looking at it, and there's only one thing that comes up that's really of any interest. And that is, Aki had not too long before this holiday taken out a life insurance policy. Now, in the event of his death, take a wild guess here. Who do you think would get the payment? Who would get the payout from his death? Of course, his wife, Johanna. The insurance policy is worth something like, well, in British money, it's worth about £200,000. So I don't know what that translates to in other places, but it's kind of maybe around the sort of like, I don't know, £250,000 mark somewhere around that. Not an amount of money to be sniffed at. But here's the thing, the investigation, it just doesn't really go anywhere. It sort of just stops. Police go, well, he's recovered. Yeah, there was a life insurance policy taken out on him, but yeah, we don't really know what else to do with this case. They're a bit stumped by it, so they go, well, do you know what? I think maybe we just need to write it off. Maybe we just need to sort of, like, let that one go. So while that's fine for police to decide, oh yeah, they don't want to, look at it anymore. What it definitely changes between Johanna and Aki is their relationship. Very quickly after the poisoning incident, they separate. No bloody wonder they separate. I would be well suspicious. I'd be like, I'm sorry, what's happening here? Now you see, you and I would think, right, logically you would think, I'm suspicious that someone in my life has tried to poison me on holiday. Maybe we should separate because you clearly want me dead and you want the money that will come from my death. But actually, that's not the thing that sends them over the edge. It's this. The big kick in the balls, the big slap across the face, is that actually Aki had no idea that there was a life insurance policy taken out against him. And that's because Johanna had taken it out behind his back. She'd just taken that out herself. He had no idea it existed. And then he suddenly turns up poisoned in a hospital. Alright, lady, I'm watching you. So yeah, I'd say that's pretty good grounds. I mean, I think it's pretty good grounds to separate with someone. I just think, this story's not that, that's what I said to you, it's not that old. This was only really a few years ago, and I'm like, the whole taking out an insurance policy on someone's life, and then, possibly poisoning them. What did she do? Did she go to, I don't know, bloody Amazon and look up what are the most cliched ways to make money? Like, seriously? Oh, I feel like that's really old school. Like, come on. So, as I said, they've got twin kids, and they live with Johanna. And if you do your research, you might see the words, the summer cottage in Sweden. And I would urge you to Google it because it's absolutely gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's absolutely breathtaking. But the summer cottage is where Johanna's parents live. I mean, it bloody looks like somewhere you would film a Swedish TV drama. It's absolutely gorgeous. So you've just got like their house is there. There's another sort of like house, sort of barn type thing on the grounds. There's a lake nearby. Oh, it's got all this beautiful greenery around it. Gorgeous. So this summer cottage, this is where her mum and dad lived, and quite often Johanna would be at her mum and dad's house when she had the kids. And it just so happens that this is a year after they've separated. Her and Aki have separated, and the whole poisoning life insurance thing is a year down the line. She's there with the twins, and it's his turn to come and collect the kids and take them away for the weekend. So he arrives to collect them. Now, their relationship is frosty. It's really frosty. And really, that's because obviously what's gone on between them. But he's also saying to other people, she is basically a nightmare. She's just a nightmare. She makes everything difficult. He says that she's always complaining that she never has any money. She's living this terrible life and it's all his fault and it's all someone else's fault and she doesn't really get on with her mum and dad and this is terrible. But, they don't live together, so it's not really his burden. It's just that's what she's saying, that's what she's doing. So, Aki has arrived to collect his twins. And does this happen? No. A call is placed to Swedish police to report that a man has drowned in the lake near the summer cottage. On the day that Aki arrives to collect his twins, his dead body is found in a shallow part of the lake. Now when I say shallow, I mean very, very shallow. We're talking like a metre of water here. Now I know you can drown in any sort of amount of water. I had a friend once whose mum used to say, and I don't think this is true, who used to say, you can drown in a teaspoonful of water. I don't think you can drown in a teaspoonful of water. I don't know, maybe you can. That sounds ridiculous to me. But this is what I said before. Aki was fit and he was healthy. He was jogging. He was swimming. He was biking all the time. And now he's drowned in a very, very, very shallow amount of water in the lake just next to where Johanna is staying, just next to her parents' home. So police, they arrive to see the scene and they determine it as accidental drowning. His sister is brilliant at this point because she comes out and she just goes, Nope, this is ridiculous. There is no way. She's like, my brother was so fit, so healthy, and would swim in all types of water. He could always, he could survive that. So I'm just not buying that he's drowned in this small amount of water. But because police have said, it was an accidental drowning, there is to be no investigation. Now, obviously, questions arise. My first question, why in the hell would he even be swimming as he comes to collect his kids? You're not going to be like, I'm here to pick up my twins, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to whip my clothes off and I'm just going to jump in the lake for 5 minutes. No, you're not. You're not going to do that. That's just stupid. It doesn't make any sense. But police, even though people are asking questions, his family are going, right, can we look at this because this doesn't make any sense to anyone. Police decide, it was accidental. Let's write it off. What does Johanna feel about his death? Well, very little, other than frustration. Frustration at how slow the life insurance policy is to pay out. Hang on just one god darn bloody minute. Did I not say earlier on that she'd been caught out with the life insurance policy? Well, guess what? Johanna's done it again. Even though she got caught the first time taking out a life insurance policy on him, she did it again. She's taken out a second one. This woman, and we've only just started. So yeah, she'd taken out a second policy on him. Again, he had no idea. Much in like the case of the first one, where he was mysteriously poisoned. No idea it existed. Didn't know this one existed either. And here she is. She's frustrated. So she's phoning the life insurance company, and she's going, where's the payout, where's the payout? And they're like, well, he only died 2 weeks ago. We have to process it. Like, what's the rush? And of course, to police, this looks suspicious, but they've also ruled it accidental death. So what can they do? Nothing. Not very much. Now, we're going to call that event 1 in the story of Johanna. And while that could be our story for a podcast, and you go, fine, end it there. No. Oh, no, 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 no. We're nowhere near the end of her crazy story. So, buckle up your braces. No. What's that? Tighten your braces. No, what is it they say? Something about braces. If you've got a brace near you, do something with it. Buckle up your horses. No, I don't know. Anyway, get ready is what I'm trying to say. Get ready for the next bit of the life of Johanna Möller. Let's move on to event 2 in the life of Johanna. What does she do next? Her husband's dead. She's got her kids. Her mum and dad at this point are saying to her, we can't really financially help you anymore. You're demanding a lot from us financially. But here's what she does. She opens an orphanage. I mean, of course she does. Because, what we've learned this far is she's so kind. She's so caring. Why not? Open an orphanage. And I'm going to warn you here. It's not very nice. Some of the things that happen, it wanders into a bit of a dark area, but I'll try to be as gentle with this as I can. So this is January 2016, and Johanna opens this orphanage with a friend of hers, a female friend. And essentially what they have is a great deal of refugee children who are coming into it. Now, I think I remember reading at the time, I don't know what it's like now, but I think Sweden had a huge number of refugee children coming into it. I know other European countries did. I know that Germany did as well. That was the whole Angela Merkel did something that made that happen. But I think Sweden was somewhere where there was a lot of refugee children. And obviously what happened here is Johanna decided to take advantage of that. So it's a few months into her running of the orphanage. She's got a great number of kids from all over the world who need refuge to come there, and her business partner decides that she wants out of the business because she doesn't like the way that Johanna is running the business. Partly because it's costing an absolute fortune to run it. It's costing an absolute fortune to run this, and she doesn't really have any money. Now, how she's doing it, I have no idea. And I think this is where the relationship with her parents is important, because I think she's borrowing a lot of money from them to run this orphanage. I think she sees it as a business. I think she thinks that she's going to make some sort of money out of it. And they're saying to her, well, look, we've given you some start-up costs for this. We're also paying for the apartment that you live in. We're helping you raise your kids. I mean, Johanna was not above going to every family member that she had and asking for money to help raise her kids, even though some of her kids were adults. Some of them are in their early 20s, and she was still going to family members and going, You need to give me money to help me raise my 21-year-old daughter. And family members were going, well, no, because your kids are now adults. So I don't really know why I need to be giving you money to help that situation. She was, I think, always living beyond her means. Important, I think, probably to point out here, at the time when she opened this orphanage, she's 41 years old. This isn't a sort of like a venture that she went on when she was 19 and thought, oh, I'm going to open this, and her parents went, all right, okay, we'll try and help, try and support you as best we can if you want to be. I mean, I don't have kids, but, if I had a 19-year-old who came to me and said, I want to be a tattoo artist who specialises in face tattoos and I need to start a business, then, at 19 I might go, okay, that's fine. I will give you the money I have to help you do that. But at 41, it's a different kind of thing. So her parents are reluctant to keep trying to help her out. So people are just saying to her, now you need to close this orphanage down because it's not working. Like, what are you doing? You're basically just getting yourself into all this kind of crazy debt. However, she will not willingly give it up. But she is going to have to give it up. And it's because of this situation. In a Swedish police station, 2 teenage boys from Afghanistan are talking to the police because they need to report a crime. A crime which occurred in the orphanage that they had recently been staying at. These 2 14-year-old boys are reporting that whilst under the care of Johanna, they were forced to have sex while she filmed them. I mean, I told you, she is a piece of work. She is a monster. Might be a more appropriate way to put it. What she did with these boys was she forced them to have sex on camera, and she told them that if they didn't do it, in her words, she said to them, you will be expelled from Sweden. I will make sure that the migration board get involved and send you back to Afghanistan if you don't have sex now. What a witch. What an absolute witch. So when police approach her about this, they approach the orphanage, they raid everything that they can find, and they find the video in question. They find the video of the 2 boys having sex. Now, in the video, you can see the sex act, but you can also see the legs of a woman, and it's the woman filming whose legs you can see. You can't see her face, but you can see her legs. Here's what Johanna does. Realising that she's been caught doing this, she goes to her adult daughter, who is 21 years old, and she says to her, tell police that it was you who did this. Tell police it was you that filmed this sex act with the teenage boys. And her daughter says, no. What the fuck? Why? Why would I say this was me? And Johanna says, well, it wasn't me. It was definitely someone else. Someone else came into the orphanage and they made this happen. And now police are coming at me and I've got nothing to do with it. And her daughter says, I think you do have something to do with it. I think that's you filming. And she says, look, please just say that it was you. And her daughter says, no, get to fuck. I will not do that. So because in this video they cannot see the face of the woman filming, police have to drop the investigation due to lack of evidence. That is just so frustrating. It's so frustrating. This is the second time she has dodged a major bullet. Now, why in the world was she making these two boys perform a sex act? Well, basically what she was doing was she was filming these boys doing these things, and then she was selling them for quite a high price to some paedophile rings. I don't think for a second she herself was actually that interested in the actual sex act. I think she was just actually looking to make some money out of it. So the orphanage is obviously under massive investigation. And what's interesting at this point is her name is beginning to be known slightly in the press. Like, this is the second time there's been a crime. You know, so there was the drowning of the husband, the poisoning. Oh, there's now this with the orphanage. So, you know, her name, I think, in Sweden, it's beginning to sort of bubble to the surface just a tiny little bit. I think people are beginning to go, okay, she might be someone that we need to pay attention to. Hold on to your horses. That's the phrase I was trying to say, not buckle up your breeches or whatever I said earlier on. Hold on to your horses. That's the phrase I was trying to say. Anyway, just come back to me. So, the orphanage is closed down, and not because of the footage, not because of that video. That's not why it's closed down. I'll tell you why. Because it turns out that when Johanna set up the orphanage, she went through no official channels to set it up. Not one. There is not one piece of paperwork that says this is legal. There is not one health and safety check by any sort of government person. There is nothing. She's basically just gotten a space and gone, I'm going to call this an orphanage. That's it. The police discovered that there's actually not a single thing in place that makes this legal. I think that's fucking insane. That would be like me just going, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually just going to go, I'm going to rent a wee town hall, and I'm going to make a homemade sign that says cat and dog home for strays, for stray dogs, stray cats. Right, in you come. I mean, it's nuts. You just, what? How did she think that you could just literally go, I'm going to open an orphanage, but I'm not going to do any of the paperwork that's involved in it. I'm not going to go through any of the disclosure checks, the legal checks. Nah. Let's not waste our time with that. Fucking hell. I was telling my friend this story the other day in the pub, and well, he's from Edinburgh, and they have this phrase in Edinburgh. Paddy, stop dropping your pen. They have this phrase in Edinburgh, and I don't really get it. They like to say, oh, he's some cat, that guy. I think I've maybe just remembered this because I was talking about cat and dog homes. Anyway, I find it really, like a really weird phrase. So if you're saying, say you were talking about someone in work, you would be like, oh, so and so did this today, and blah blah blah, this happened. He'll go, oh, she's some cat. I was telling him about Johanna. I got to this point in the story and he went, oh, she's some cat, this woman. What? She's not just some cat, she's a fucking psycho, is what she is. She's she's insane. And, you know, like, not to get off topic, and I will get back to the story, I am so respectful, as you know, of mental health issues. I do not believe for a second that Johanna Moller has any kind of mental health issue. I think she is just a manipulator. I think she just thinks that she's better and bigger than everyone else. So you can say she's some cat I'm not buying that. She's some cat. Whatever. So, when the orphanage closes, she has to go back to her life just in her apartment with her kids. But she's not alone. She brings with her 19-year-old Mohammed Raji. Now, Mohammed was someone that she looked after in the orphanage, but they had begun a sexual relationship. Okay, so if you're thinking at this point, this woman can't get any worse. She is literally living with someone that she met in the orphanage. Let's go to 3 months after the orphanage was closed. Remember the Swedish cottage? The place where Aki drowned and Johanna's parents live? Well, a call to police is made from the cottage. And it's Johanna's mother. She calls police at 3 a.m, screaming, "I am bleeding. There are big holes in me. My husband is dead." Johanna's mother and father have been brutally stabbed in the night. Her father is dead and her mother is bleeding badly. Johanna is at home in her apartment when she gets a call to say you need to go to the hospital now. So an ambulance arrives at the cottage, police arrive, and the dead body of Johanna's father is taken away and her mother is taken in for treatment. Now, police will, as soon as they look at this, jump to a bit of a strange conclusion. I think this is a bit weird. They jump to the horrible and terrible conclusion that it's Johanna's mother who is responsible for this. For some reason, they seem to think that she stabbed her husband to death and then stabbed herself to cover it up. Because of course what they're looking at is they're going, well, there's been a really brutal stabbing. One person's dead, the other has survived. So we're going to look at the person who survived and assume they must be guilty. So she's actually arrested. Johanna's mother, who's in like her early 70s, is arrested for the death of Johanna's father. However, after a couple of days, police start to come to their senses a little bit. And actually this is where Swedish police do some brilliant work. They start to look at it and they go, I don't think we're right. I don't think it was this woman that did it. So they're asking the mother, when she's sort of recovered, can you describe the attacker? Now, she's already described the attacker, but they didn't believe her the first time. But they ask her again. They say, right, who was the attacker? And she says, it was a young man. I'm going to say early 20s, possibly from Afghanistan. Who do we know in this story that lives with a 19, 20-year-old man from Afghanistan? Police go straight to Johanna's house and they bring Mohammed, her boyfriend, in for questioning. And just for good measure, they also bring Johanna. Police talk to them for hours, and of course they deny any knowledge of anything to do with this attack. But police aren't buying it. They just won't believe this. And working really with a bit of a hunch here, more than anything, Johanna and Mohammed are arrested for the attacks at the summer cottage. They're both denying any wrongdoing in the situation. Police at this point, they start to look into the life of Johanna and the trail of, well, quite frankly, devastation that she's left behind. So once arrested, they're both put into a prison while they await the time for the courts to be ready to try them. Weirdly, they're put into the same prison, so it's like a male-female prison. Obviously, they're not put in together, they're put in separately, but they're both put in to the same prison. This woman, Johanna, honestly, as soon as they're in prison, she starts to try and bribe guards to get messages, written messages. So she's written some notes out. She tries to get them to Mohammed so that when the court case comes around, she can tell him what to say in court. The guards are like, yeah, no thanks. We're not participating in this. No way. So she's really reprimanded for this behaviour. But does this stop her? Oh, no. It does not. Her son comes to visit her, and she tells him two things. She says, ahead of the court case, you absolutely have to say that I was with you the night of the murder. The night that her father was brutally stabbed to death and her mother almost stabbed to death. You have to say, I was with you. And he goes, no, I don't think I want to. I don't think I want to stand up in a court and lie. And she says, no, but you have to. You absolutely have to. She then says, you need to visit Mohammed. And what you need to do is get him to take the blame entirely for this. You need to get him to say that he came up with the idea to kill them. This is now, like, if we look at this, she's trying to get her son to basically be her alibi. It's awful. She's trying to get him to manipulate what someone's going to say in court. She's gone to her daughter and said, can you be responsible for, like, filming this sex act? She just doesn't care. She just doesn't give a fuck. This woman, she doesn't care about anybody. She's totally, she's just on another fucking planet. Someone who was in prison with her at the time, who was then subsequently released, says, she said to her at one point, they better get some wheelchairs in here because I've got some knees to break. Shut up, Johanna. Shut up. What are you on about? So, the case goes to court. Both Mohammed and Johanna are defending themselves against the horrific crimes that happened that night in the summer cottage. But Mohammed has broken. So he's been away now from her. He doesn't really have her manipulating him and telling him what to say, what to feel, what to think. And he in court actually just tells the whole story. He says, from the moment I met her, she manipulated me into thinking that everybody in her life was out to get her, and I had to in some way bring those people down. And so in order for them to have any sort of money or any sort of life in the future, she said, what you need to do is you need to go to my parents' house and you need to kill them. And so on the night that those brutal stabbings happened, she drove Muhammad to the house. She put the knife in his hand. She waited in the car while he went inside, stabbed her father to death, stabbed her mother, and then left. He says they threw the knife in a nearby river. It's at this point that the judge becomes really interested in the previous crimes of Johanna that haven't really had their proper day in court. And what he does is, good on him, love this, he orders that the body of Aki be exhumed. He says, given that we now know that she is a monster, I'm not buying that the drowning in the lake of that husband was accidental death. Let's get his body exhumed. Now this makes massive Swedish news at this point. Huge news reports everywhere, like camera crews are turning up at the graveside, everywhere. So his body is exhumed, and it's during this time that an undisclosed source comes forward. Someone who knows Johanna very, very, very well. Could be a family member, could be a friend. We're never going to discover who this person is. That's frustrating, but we're just never going to know because police have protected this person. They come forward and say, I can tell you exactly what happened when he arrived that day to pick up his twins. Johanna injected him with insulin and then drowned him in a barrel of water before putting his body in the lake and calling police. So with his body exhumed, pathologists work really hard to find out, can they detect insulin? Can they detect something in his body? And unfortunately, they can't really. They can sort of find that there's the trace of some kind of substance, but it's a few years on now, and it's impossible to find out what that actually is. So frustratingly, they can't ever say fully that she was responsible for it, because, you know, this undisclosed source could be hearsay, but in a way police know it's not hearsay. They can't quite pin it down on her. The other question that comes up, and it comes up in court, is why the parents? What was that about? Why kill the dad? Why, attempt to kill the mum even though she survived? Well, money is the answer, because they had money. Again, they had life insurances, and Johanna would have made some nice money out of her parents' death. So that is what the prosecution is leading with, really, in the case. As if she hasn't learned her lesson enough, Johanna apparently just doesn't learn a lesson. During this time, when police are going over everything from her life and sort of question marking lots of different bits of it, the two teenage boys from Afghanistan who came forward with the video and said, she made us perform this terrible sex act, they are mysteriously, she's in prison at this time, but they're mysteriously stabbed. They don't die, both these boys are fine, but they're attacked and they're stabbed in the street. What, just out of nowhere? No, not out of nowhere. Because Johanna is, as I said, a master fucking manipulator. And what she's doing is she's bribing someone to make that happen on the outside. She's just, honestly, this woman. So, the court case comes to an end. Mohammed is given 14 years in prison for his part in the killings. Now, although he's the one who went in and actually stabbed her dad to death and stabbed the mother, he's only given 14 years because he actually confessed. He spoke about it. And he threw Johanna under the bus and he said, this is it. She made me do it. And I think the way the courts, the way the jury, I think the way everyone looks at it is, you know what? He was young, he was a refugee, and he was so manipulated by this woman that, yeah, he deserves time for what he did. And 14 years for a murder is not the right amount of time. But at the same time, I think there's leniency there because he didn't just decide to do that. She literally drove him there, put the knife in his hand. Johanna is sentenced to life in prison for her involvement in those murders. But I also feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, I feel like that life in prison sentence is probably imposed because the judge can't prove that she killed Aki in the lake the first time round, and can't prove that she was the one who filmed those orphans and made them do terrible things, but also knows it, if you know what I mean. Like, knows that those things were her responsibility and her doing. And so, yeah, so life in prison is what she gets. Now, she appeals it many, many times, but with absolutely no luck. Since being in prison, she has had to be moved twice because she's a nightmare, basically. She's either offering prison guards sex in order to smuggle messages out for her, or she's starting fights with other prisoners. And as it stands, Johanna must, by court order, always have 2 prison guards near her at any time. In the only ever public statement that Johanna made, she said this. Short words, I think it sums it up perfectly. She said, I just wanted to see how much I could manipulate the law. And so ends the story. Well, there you go. There you have it. Thank you, Asa, for your wonderful work in helping me to find a way to tell this story. Yeah, she's like, what? What is she? She's crazy. She's insane. Right, I said at the beginning that I was going to read you some of these translations because, just in case you've forgotten, I had to do a lot of translating of different things, and it went through different languages. I found some absolutely brilliant ones, so I'm just going to read you a few of my very favourite. So, this is one of the first ones I came across. When the stabbings took place, police began to abduct the case with a lot of terrorists. No, I don't think they did. I don't think terrorists were involved in the story at all. Second one that I found. During the murder trial, the woman tried to mingle with her family to protect her fox. I don't remember a fox in the story. Brilliant. So good. The mysterious drowning was ecstasy for the police. Was it? I don't think it was ecstasy. What are you talking about? Love this. Relatives describe Johanna Moller as manipulative and tattooed. I don't think she had any tattoos, but anyway. This is the best one. When Johanna induced Muhammad, he was only 18. I don't think she induced him. What are you talking about? And finally, Johanna Moller has the legal right to inherit her chair. What chair? What are you talking about? Anyway, oh, loved that. So, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to say thank you for listening. If you would like to follow me or help me with the podcast, you can. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram. You can join the Facebook group. A wonderful place to be. You can also leave me an iTunes review. That would be nice. Or a review just kind of on anywhere that you listen to. Just do, do that. That would be nice. That'd be bloody lovely if you could do that. Yeah. So I'm gonna get out of here. And okay. Goodbye.
It didn't affect me really one way or the other. I would imagine from the look on his face, let's get it on, let's do it, let's get it over. Let's get it on, let's do it, let's get it over.